This is breaking news from Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Review-Journal studio. We're about to take you live to the Las Vegas Police Department headquarters, where we're expecting an update on an officer-involved shooting that happened earlier this week in the Northeast Valley that left one man dead. Now, here's what we know so far. Police say the shooting happened Tuesday morning at a shopping center near the intersection of East Charleston Boulevard and Sloan Lane. Earlier today, the coroner's office identified the victim as 43-year-old Mario Martinez of Las Vegas. Now, police officers originally responded to a report of shots fired on West Lake Mead Boulevard. They determined that a man had kidnapped his ex-girlfriend and fled the area. About 2 hours later, officers encountered Martinez and his ex-girlfriend at the shopping center. Police say Martinez pointed a firearm at officers, who then shot him. The woman was not injured in the encounter. Now, for those of you just joining us, we're waiting for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department to give us an update on an officer-involved shooting that happened in the Northeast Valley that left one man dead. Now let's take a live look at the police department headquarters. As you can see there, they have a microphone set up. They haven't got it started just yet. Oh, someone has just walked up. Looks like they're just about to start here in a moment. For now, we'll be leaving you with this live picture.
And I'm here today to brief you on the additional details as we know them today about the officer-involved shooting that took place on Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. This is officer-involved shooting number 8 for 2021. It's fatal event number 5. At the same time last year, we had 16 officer-involved shootings, 8 of which were fatal. This event was initiated by an assault and battery with a firearm at 09:33 hours on October 12th, 2021. The address of the original call was in the 5600 block of East Lake Mead. The officer-involved shooting occurred near the intersection of Sloan Lane and East Charleston Boulevard, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89156, which is located in the Southeast Area Command. And you can see that area depicted on the map on the screen to my left. The involved officer in this incident is Officer Ramon Highstand. Ramon is 35 years old, and he's been with the LVMPD since 2014. In this incident, Officer Highstand was armed with a Colt LE carbine .223 caliber rifle equipped with a tactical light. And the investigation revealed he fired 8 rounds during this incident. Officer Highstand is assigned to the Community Policing Division, which is within the which is within the Southeast Area Command. And the suspect in this incident was identified as Mario Lawrence Martinez. He was a 43-year-old Hispanic male adult. He was 5'10", and he weighed 260 pounds. And he's pictured on the screen to my left. In this incident, Martinez was armed with a semi-automatic SCCY 9mm handgun, and the investigation revealed he fired 5 rounds during this incident. 2 of those rounds were fired while Martinez was kidnapping the victim from her apartment, and the rest of the rounds were fired at the officer-involved shooting scene. Had Martinez survived, he would have been charged with kidnapping with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, 5 counts of attempted murder on a police officer, home invasion, burglary with a firearm, and shooting into an occupied structure. And the details of the officer-involved shooting are as follows. On Tuesday, October 12th, 2021, the LVMPD Dispatch Center received a call from a citizen reporting a shooting in a 4-plex apartment building located in the 5600 block of East Lake Mead Boulevard. The caller also stated that the shooting was related to a domestic violence incident. Officers arrived and contacted a man in front of the apartments. The man explained to the officers that this apartment is where he and his girlfriend live, and he went on to explain how his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, Mario Lawrence Martinez, had been harassing them. He told officers that Martinez came over and fired shots before kicking in the front door of the apartment. Martinez entered the apartment and forcibly removed his girlfriend, threatening her with a handgun. Martinez attempted to leave the area using the female victim's vehicle. However, her vehicle had a dead battery. Martinez then forced the victim to walk with him away from the apartment building. Patrol officers were able to determine that Martinez was likely heading to his residence, which was not far from the Lake Mead address. A description of Martinez and the victim was broadcast to all officers in the area. At approximately 10:50 a.m., patrol officers saw Martinez and the victim walking in the area of Charleston Boulevard and Sloan Lane. Officers tried to get Martinez to release the victim and asked him to surrender. Martinez failed to comply with the officers' commands and began moving away while holding the victim at gunpoint and walked into a busy shopping center parking lot. Martinez attempted to steal a car that was in a restaurant drive-thru, and Martinez was unsuccessful in that attempt, and he also tried to steal 2 other vehicles in the parking lot. Those attempts were also unsuccessful. He then forced the victim to walk into a grocery store with him while he was still holding her at gunpoint and waving the gun in the air. Martinez made his way through the grocery store and eventually exited the store into the rear alley. Throughout Martinez's movements, officers followed and were in close proximity to him and the victim. There was an unoccupied box truck, which you see in the picture to my left, parked to the rear of the grocery store. Martinez shot out the window of that vehicle, and he attempted to steal it and attempted to force the victim into it. He was unable to start the truck and forced the victim to walk with him westbound in the alley towards Sloan Lane. While all this was happening, responding officers were setting up containment around the shopping center, and as Martinez was making his way westbound towards Sloan, a team of officers was already posted in the alley, which included Officer Ramon Heistand. As Martinez reached the sidewalk on the east side of Sloan Lane, he pointed his firearm at officers. The victim then took this opportunity to break away from Martinez, and Officer Heistand then fired his rifle at Martinez, striking him, causing him to fall to the ground. When Martinez fell to the ground, he began firing shots from his handgun toward the officers. Officer Heistand returned fire, and then Martinez stopped shooting. Officers moved in to render aid. However, Martinez was pronounced deceased at the scene by medical personnel. And now we're going to show you some body-worn camera footage, and we're also going to show you some surveillance footage that we've recovered so far from this event. So this is video from the fast food drive-thru. You can see Martinez wearing the blue shirt, and there's the victim standing behind him as he attempts to gain entry into that vehicle while holding the gun. And then what you'll see shortly is Martinez walks back towards that vehicle, and then he points his firearm downrange in the parking lot at responding officers to this parking lot area. So you can see it's a crowded parking lot, suspect forcibly holding the victim. And in this next video, what you're going to see is you can see the victim and the suspect walking towards this white SUV that's pulling down the lane. The suspect drags the victim to the passenger side of the vehicle, attempts to gain entry, but the driver of the vehicle is able to speed away. And it's at this point where Martinez takes the victim and drags her into the supermarket. So the next segment of this, you'll see the suspect and the victim enter the store. You can see the firearm. And in here, the suspect and the victim are circled. And you see an officer using shopping carts to block the exit. And you see other officers in the right of the screen. And then this is after the suspect was unsuccessful in stealing the box truck. He's going to come walking into view here in a second. And you can see how he's holding the victim at gunpoint, using her as a shield. And this is in the alley, as I described earlier, walking westbound towards Sloan.
Hey, if I get a clean top, I'm going to take it, okay?
And this is body-worn camera footage from Officer Highstand. So the area you want to pay attention to is along the wall. You'll get a glimpse of the suspect and the victim. Hey. And this video that you're going to see now is from the air unit. So again, walking westbound in the alley. This is where the officer with the rifle is.
Okay. We just okay. Any officers arriving, we need to arrive on Sloan northbound. He's walking south away from any containment now. He was using the female.
So slow down, you see she gets to walk away. He raises the firearm towards the officers. And for obvious reasons, we're not going to show the rest of that event. And that concludes this briefing.
There were a lot of people in cars that kind of watched this man hold this woman's neck and get to the grocery store. Were you guys getting calls? What should residents be doing in these situations like that?
Yeah, obviously you see the drive-through. No calls from the people in the drive-through. No calls. We have calls from the Albertsons, but no calls from folks outside. The second vehicle that drives off, no calls. So, you know, people should call us when they see something like that. I mean, it's kind of sad when you see a victim being dragged around at gunpoint and we don't get more calls than we got. We got some, but not the amount that you would think we got.
Do you know if Martinez has any previous history of domestic violence and or mental health issues?
So as always in these press briefings, we can tell you you can get their criminal history from records. But between this and this incident, we don't know that there's any history of domestic violence between him and the victim.
Was she injured at all?
Yes. She had some marks from him holding her, and she had an injury to the back of her head, which she said was caused by the suspect.
Were any officers injured?
Thankfully, no, and I appreciate you asking.
How volatile was this situation, just because it was just a moving scene from place to place? How dangerous was that for your officers to try to make sure that they weren't shooting someone in the background?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because it really gives people an indication of what, especially in our community, what their police department and what their officers train for and what they're capable of. I think in this incident, you know, it's really a nightmare scenario of a mobile hostage situation. But thankfully, the citizen that was kidnapped was not hurt, and thankfully none of our officers were hurt, and no other citizens were hurt. You know, the loss of life, obviously, in any situation is sad and tragic for the family members of that person involved, but in this situation, the suspect dictated the actions of the officers, and there was little left for us to do. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so you just heard an update from the Metro Police Department on the officer-involved shooting in the Northeast Valley this week that left one man dead. Now, he's been identified as 43-year-old Mario Martinez by police, and they also shared with us some surveillance footage, body cam video, and even helicopter footage showing exactly what led up to the officer-involved shooting. They say that Martinez fired 5 rounds, and the officer who shot Martinez fired 8 rounds. He's been identified as Ramon Highstand. Now, police say that Martinez would have been charged with kidnapping and attempted murder, among other charges, if he was alive today. And Highstand again fired 8 rounds. He had to fire more after the first, because after Martinez was shot, police say that he continued firing. We'll have much more for you on this story on our website, lvrj.com. You can also watch our weekday newscast 7 at 7 a.m. and p.m. Available on Roku, Apple TV, YouTube, all of your streaming platforms. Our RJ mobile app to get news alerts sent right to your phone. I'm Jen Ah. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We'll be seeing you here in a few hours at 7.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.